नमस्कार अभिलाष नायक जी।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार।
हम लोग बिल्कुल समय से हैं और 2-4 मिनट पार्टिसिपेंट्स के साथ आप भी हमारे साथ सम्मिलित हैं। तो एक अनौपचारिक पहले इन माने अनौपचारिक रूप से इनफॉर्मली मैं आप सारे लोगों से परिचय करा देता हूं और फिर और लोग जब हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स ज्वाइन कर लेंगे देन वी विल स्टार्ट फॉर्मली। तो मैंने आपको सूचना पहले भी दी थी। दिस इज द इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम बीइंग ऑर्गेनाइज्ड बाय एचआरडीसी पटना यूनिवर्सिटी और ये 28 डेज का हमारा ये सेशन यूजीसी के द्वारा निर्धारित है। We have started this program since last 17th of January and will conclude on 21st of February. So the participants of this faculty induction program, they are almost from all the state universities of Bihar, and this is a diverse group. Diverse group means the participants are from all the faculties, the science, commerce, humanities, and social science. So it's a mixed group and very active group. There is one important call. Let me take this important call and then. Okay. मेरे लिए भी ये बड़ा लर्निंग एक्सरसाइज है टू मैनेज द फैकल्टी इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम, कोऑर्डिनेटिंग विद द स्पीकर्स, रिसोर्स पर्सन्स, पार्टिसिपेंट्स, ऑफिस स्टाफ। तो बड़ा मजा आ रहा है कि लगभग पूरे दिन हम लोग किसी न किसी रूप से अपने काम से जुड़े हुए हैं और पार्टिसिपेंट्स के उत्साह को देखकर हमारा भी उत्साह और बन जाता है। और उस बीच में आप आए हैं तो हम लोग और भी उत्साहित हैं। अभी 1-2 मिनट हमारे पास शेष हैं, तो हम लोग अभी वही बातचीत कर रहे थे कि हमारे यूजीसी एचआरडीसी सेंटर के हमारे डिप्टी डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर मोहम्मद सईद आलम जी फ्रॉम द एंशिएंट इंडियन हिस्ट्री एंड आर्कियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पटना यूनिवर्सिटी, वो भी हम लोगों के साथ जुड़े हैं एंड ही इज द कोऑर्डिनेटर ऑफ दिस फैकल्टी इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम। इनका काफी साथ रहता है, वो अपने स्तर से सभी चीजों को मॉनिटर करते हैं। वी हैव अ वेरी गुड टेक्निकल टीम आल्सो। तो आपने जो मुझे अपने प्रेजेंटेशंस के बारे में वो भेजा था, आई हैव शेयर्ड दैट पीपीटी विद द टेक्निकल टीम। उमर जी आप हैं हम लोगों के साथ?
यस सर।
हाँ यस।
कोई दिक्कत होगा तो सर हम बताएंगे सर।
हाँ,
मुझे लगता है कि देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी प्रॉब्लम।
ओके। So in case there is any problem, Umar will take care. Umar, मैंने आपको पीपीटी भेजा है ना?
यस सर।
हाँ, तो अगर सर के प्रेजेंटेशन में कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है तो फिर आप उसको अपने स्तर से वहाँ कोऑर्डिनेट कीजिएगा।
ओके सर, मैं रेडी हूँ सर।
हाँ ठीक, वेरी गुड। आप हमेशा रेडी रहते हैं, बिल्कुल मुस्तैद रहते हैं, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है। वेरी गुड, बहुत बढ़िया। तो Dr. Nayak, now I think most of the participants, they have already joined and you have also you are also here with us. So let's start the program well on time at 10:30. This is also one aspect which the teachers and participants must have that sensitivity to for the maintenance of time. So on behalf of the HRDC Patna University and on behalf of the participants of this third faculty induction program, really, we are very honored to have a distinguished academician and resource person with us, Dr. Abhilash Nayak ji. He is Honorable Regional Director of IGNOU at Patna Center. I think, Dr. Nayak, you are handling both Bihar and Jharkhand from your regional center?
No, sir. I am handling 2 offices in this building only.
Okay.
I am heading the regional center as well as the regional evaluation center.
Okay, thank you. So this is one
We
important.
have 4 centers in Bihar, sir.
Okay.
Patna, Saharsa, Darbhanga, and Bhagalpur. And
Okay.
in Jharkhand we have 2, Devgar and Ranchi.
Okay, okay. So I have a small biodata or CV with me for the benefit of the participant, for the encouragement of the participants. As per the directives of the UGC and the National Education Policy, in time to come, this open distance learning and distance education is going to be one very, very significant aspect in our higher educational scenario as far as our country is concerned. So gradually, the multidisciplinarity, the migration of students from one unit to another, plus you are handling or you belong to such a large university. I know I've been given the information that it is the largest university in globally. I think so.
Right.
Yes. So हम लोगों को दूरस्थ शिक्षा के विषय में और अधिक जानकारी के लिए डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक जी से और बेहतर कोई नहीं हो सकता। इग्नू के साथ इनका इतना पुराना संबंध है। और आप पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए मैं एक छोटी सी जानकारी, डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक जी अंग्रेजी साहित्य के विद्यार्थी रहे हैं और इन्होंने अंग्रेजी साहित्य उत्कल यूनिवर्सिटी उड़ीसा से स्नातकोत्तर की उपाधि प्राप्त की है और संबलपुर यूनिवर्सिटी से आपने अंग्रेजी में ही पीएचडी की उपाधि प्राप्त की है। आपके बायोडेटा में डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक जी, आई कैन सी दैट देयर आर सो मेनी सेगमेंट्स इन योर एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट्स। आप इग्नू से जो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट डिप्लोमा है डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन का, उसमें आप गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट आप हैं। आपने सर्वोच्च स्थान प्राप्त किया है उस सेशन में। Along with that, you are having MA in distance education, you are having certificate in computing, and you have so many other achievements with you. You were awarded scholarships, university gold medal by IGNOU, और कई रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट्स आपने हैंडल किए हैं और कई तरह के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपीरियंस भी आपके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। So list is long. You have published so many papers nationally as well as international journals of repute, all peer reviewed and very, very high impact factor journals. तो हम लोगों के लिए ये बहुत ही उत्साह की बात है कि आज हमारे बीच में हमारे पटना दफ्तर से ही रीजनल डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक जी हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं। हम सभी बहुत सम्मान और आदर के साथ आपका इस कार्यक्रम में स्वागत करते हैं और मुझे भी उम्मीद है कि हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स के द्वारा बहुत ही अच्छा आपको इंटरैक्टिव सेशन यहाँ मिलेगा। दे आर ऑल वेरी सिंसियर एंड वेरी सेंसिटिव टुवर्ड्स देयर ड्यूटीज एंड असाइनमेंट्स। सो विद दीज फ्यू वर्ड्स, नाउ ओवर टू यू डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक जी। I have some important engagements, so I leave in between, maybe after 5 minutes.
मैं दो सेकंड में डायरेक्टर साहब। नमस्कार सर, मैं 2 मिनट लेना चाहूंगा। मैं शुक्रिया इसलिए भी करना चाहूंगा कि अभी इग्नू में भारत सरकार ने उर्दू में तवारीख को, कदीमी एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री को ये करने के लिए जिम्मेदारी बिहार को मिला है और बिहार से अभिलाष जी ने मुझे ये किया है। मैं 4 लेक्चर क्लास ले चुका हूँ और पूरे ये में जो है, तो मैं इनका स्वागत करते हुए, इसलिए कि चूँकि लगातार इनसे 4-5 दिनों तक मुलाकात हुई और एक दिन तो हमें हफ्ते में 1 दिन क्लास लेना था, लेकिन एक हफ्ते में हमें 3 क्लास हमको और इम्तियाज साहब वगैरह का भी जो है हमको एक बैग इन्होंने दिया और एक मेरे लिए चैलेंजिंग भी था क्योंकि ऑनलाइन क्लास जो है टीवी पर टेलीकास्ट हो रहा था।
ऑनलाइन लाइव क्लास,
तो लाइव क्लास में ये लेने का मेरा सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ और अभिलाष जी को बुला करके हमारे डायरेक्टर साहब का मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ और शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। तो इसलिए मैंने बताया कि ऐसे लोगों को, जौहरी लोगों को बुला करके सर जो है आप लोगों के बीच में ला रहे हैं। इसका मकसद ये है कि आप तमाम लोग टीचर्स हैं और किस तरीके से आप अपने ये करियर को और अपने पोजीशन को आगे इन्हांस कर सकते हैं, तो अभिलाष जी के नायक साहब से बेहतर कोई नहीं बता सकता है। शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
ठीक।
So just I will take 1 minute to share my presentation, sir. Just give me some time, please. Sir, is my PPT visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. As you can see from the title of my presentation here, I am going to talk about the future of ODL in the country. So I have divided my presentation in this way. First of all, we shall be talking about the characteristics of distance learning, how it is different from the conventional mode of learning. Then we shall be talking about the different phases through which ODL has gone through over the years. Then different advantages of distance learning, how distance learning has evolved and grown in India. Then what is the impact of online learning on distance learning? And then we shall be talking about the ODL regulations in India, then the role of ODL in the NEP 2020, and finally, what I visualize for ODL in the country. First of all, as you can see here, ODL, because as the term indicates, it is open and distance learning, so the separation of the teacher and learner is always there. It is either in terms of time or place, or it could be both in terms of time and place. Institutional accreditation, it means whatever degrees are offered by the open universities, they are accredited by a agency which is notified by the respective governments. Then use of mixed media, this is very, very important. Generally what happens in the conventional mode of education, we use the printed media mostly. Nowadays, of course, with the impact and invasion of technology in every field of life, we have started using online mode of teaching a different kind of ICT enabled modes of teaching and learning we are encouraging. But in open and distance mode, this has been there since long. We use print media, we use audio media, we use visual media, we use podcasts, we use video conferencing, we use audio, all kinds of media are used for this open and distance mode of learning. There is a two-way communication. It could be synchronous. I think most of you are teachers of government colleges or universities, so you should be knowing what it means. Synchronous means at the same time. That when there is a teacher and taught interacting at the same time, that is called real time, that is called synchronous communication. When communication between the teacher and the taught at a different time, that is asynchronous communication. So there is a two-way communication all the time. It could be in the form of the self-learning materials, it could be in the form of the audio video conferences, it could be in the form of teleconferences, television shows, television programs where the learners are given a chance to ask questions and take feedback, and the teachers take feedback from the learners. Possibility of face-to-face meetings. Actually, generally people have the idea that in this open and distance mode of learning, there is no contact between the teacher and the taught, but there is always a possibility for the teacher and the taught to come together. It could be during the contact programs, it could be during the different kinds of practicals, you have field works. We conduct different kinds of internship programs also. So all these things, in all these activities, the teacher and the taught are always involved. And the next one is use of industrialized process. You will be surprised to know in IGNOU, if you go to the headquarters, you will find crores of books, crores of sets of books lying in the warehouse. That requires a purely industrialized approach to the production of materials Not only that, earlier it was only applied to the production of materials. Nowadays it is being used for almost every support service that the universities provide. Then the next one is very, very important, that is independent and individualized self-directed learning. I generally tell my learners, tell my colleagues that the learners in the distance mode, they are independent, they are individualized, they are autonomous learners because they have decided to do something to grow in life. They have accepted open and distance learning to grow in life, for upward movement in their careers and for different purposes. And most important in the last part, accessibility, flexibility, and equity. These are the three things which have been highlighted in the National Education Policy. Open and distance learning has been encouraged in the NEP 2020 because it is accessible to everybody and it has a flexible modes of delivery of the programs. Even there are flexibility in regard to the entry conditions, flexibility in regard to the examinations, and different kinds of choices are given to the learners. And most importantly, it ensures equity also. We will be talking about these of the institution. It is as per the requirement of the learner. If the mode of learning satisfies the needs of the learners, satisfies their requirements, and they can learn at their own time, at their place, at the place and pace of their choice, as per their convenience, then it breaks open all the barriers. So it provides the opportunities to them, and it results from it frees them, it liberates them from the geographical isolation or different kinds of commitment and social justice by providing high quality education, university education to all who wish to realize their ambitions and fulfill their potential. This is very, very important. Because there are many people, I always tell my colleagues and my coordinators that people who come to the open and distance mode of learning, they come to us because other doors are either closed to them or they have not been able to make use of those opportunities. And they come to us because they want to realize their ambitions, they want to fulfill their potential. And the philosophy and the ideas of Lord Perry, which was put forth long ago when the UK Open University came into existence, they are being followed in letter and spirit by all the open universities across the world, even today. Now let us see how the teachers and the learners interact. We can see the scenario here. It could be at the same time or same place as it happens in the classroom teaching. It could be in the face-to-face tutorials. It could be in the seminars, workshops, and residential schools. It could be at different time also. What happens? The same place but different time. That means there is a resource center there. Learners visit the resource center as per their convenience, and they learn the things as per their requirement. It could be at different places, but same time. As I was telling just 5 minutes ago, synchronous. That means audio conferences, video conference. That means the teacher and the taught, they are interacting. They are in the same mode of communication at the same time. Television with one-way video, two-way audio. Sometimes what happens in television, there is a program, but the learners are there, the teachers are there. There may not be two-way communication, but the learners are watching the program. So it is at the same time, but different places. Radio with listener response capability. You must have heard about community radios. These community radios, they are in different parts of the country. IGNOU has community radios to Gyanmani studios across the country. And through these Gyanmani studios, the learners in the vicinity, they are given the support services and counseling services. Then at different time, different place. It could be home study, it could be computer conferencing, it could be tutorial support by email or fax communication, etc. Now let us see what are the advantages of this open and distance learning. Why people prefer open and distance learning? First of all, people prefer open and distance learning because they are not required to travel long distances to attend the college or the university. Particularly, it is useful to people who are physically challenged or who have some disability problem, or people who for various reasons, because there are some social taboos in some communities where a particular category of people, they are not allowed to move out and attend to the educational institutions. So in such cases, it is a boon to those people. Solving time or scheduling problems. I may be wanting to do something, but the time schedule of the colleges and universities is not suitable to me. So what I do, I choose open and distance learning. I recently came across a very interesting experience. One of the guardians came to me. I was surprised to know that he told me that, sir, my daughter is preparing for NEET, but she is a student of BSc. I couldn't imagine a student of NEET taking admission in BSc. Generally, young people, they don't come for the bachelor's degree program under IGNOU. But his argument was that my daughter has chosen IGNOU because she can spare time for her preparation for NEET. So that is something, a kind of new discovery for me. So that is there. Expanding the limited number of places available. This is a very, very important factor, particularly in developing countries like ours. Our resources are very, very limited. The places where resources are located, they are limited. So we can expand these locations. That means we can have small locations where we can provide support services to the learners and they can pursue their studies. Accommodating low or dispersed enrollments. That means if generally what happens in the conventional universities or colleges, if there is a not adequate number of students in a particular session like this, the university withdraws the program, withdraws the course from the college. But here what happens, we have small enrollment in different places, but we can put them together and provide them support services. Making the best use of the limited number of teachers available. This is another very, very important feature. Because as all of you know, IGNOU depends heavily upon external resources. Our academic counselors, as Professor Syed Alam was just telling now, we are engaging experienced teachers, we are engaging expert teachers who have command over their subjects for our academic counseling sessions, our academic activities. And not that the regional director has the power to do it. These things are being done by the respective schools of studies at the headquarters. That's a very rigorous process. But all the teachers who are present over here, if you are interested to be a part of IGNOU academic activities, I would encourage you, I would request you to kindly empanel yourself as an academic council of IGNOU, so that we would love to make use of your services for providing academic support to our learners. Dealing with cultural, religious, and political considerations. This is another very important thing. As I was just referring to, there are some societies, some communities where because of this cultural inhibitions, learners are not allowed to go out and read in common places. In such cases, learners can study at their own convenience. There are some political considerations also. For example, in places which are affected with war, places which are affected with natural calamities, there also these things, the study of the learners can continue as it happened during the pandemic. Flexibility, there is flexibility in regard to everything. Flexibility in regard to entry qualifications, flexibility in regard to age, flexibility in regard to the places where they study, flexibility in regard to the time they take the examinations, and flexibility in regard to the pattern of examinations. You will be surprised to know in IGNOU, the learners are allowed to complete a program at their convenience. If a person, in the old BA, for example, there were 13 courses. A person is given 3 years minimum period and 5 years maximum period. During the 3 years, if a person is able to take exam in 2 papers at his or her convenience, we conduct 2 times examinations in a year. If somebody does it and at the end of the 3 years, the person is able to complete the course And one more very surprising thing, which is a gift to my learners. In no case in the provisional certificate or final certificate is written that the learner has completed this examination by sitting in 6 examinations or 5 examinations, nothing like that. Only the last examination is mentioned in the provisional certificate. So it is convenient to people who belong to different disadvantaged groups, and it is affordable. Affordable, why? Because you will be surprised to know, even in IGNOU, a person can do graduation just by paying around 10,000 rupees. It was earlier 7,600, now it has been announced a little. Around 10,000 rupees, if somebody pays, the person is able to complete the BA program. And that includes the support services being given to the learners, that includes the evaluation of assignments, that includes the academic counseling sessions which the learner can attend free of cost, that includes the study materials, that includes the e-resources available on our IGNOU course. So it is very much affordable. Now let us see what are the different functions of open and distance learning. I am just quickly going through this because it's not very useful to you. Obtaining and managing money and other resources that every institution does. Developing or acquiring programs and courses. You may ask me, what is this acquiring? Acquiring means IGNOU is a national university. There are many state universities in the country, including NOU. They have taken the help of some of the IGNOU study materials through an MOU, and they are providing the courses to their learners. So it's possible. Recruiting and promoting. Physically producing, reproducing, storing, and disseminating materials. That means the course teams for various programs, they prepare the materials, reproduce the materials, they revise the materials that is there, and store the material, and disseminating, that means it is given to the learners. Enrolling and registering, delivering programs and courses, providing learner support services, examining, crediting, and granting credentials, means certificates, evaluating, revising the processes, procedures, programs, and courses. This is a very important component of ODL. It is regularly revised. If you go to IGNOU courses, if you did some course 10 years ago and you visit the course today, you will see that there is a sea change. And most importantly, training and development of staff. It is always a continuous process. Now, there are 3 modes of open and distance learning system. Single mode institutions like IGNOU, where only one mode of education is given there. Dual mode institutions like Patna University or Delhi University, which have a conventional mode of education as well as a distance mode of education. Then the mixed mode institution, that means institutions which switch between these 2 modes of learning. Let us see what are the different terms associated with this open and distance learning and how this has moved from one step to another. First of all, this started with non-formal education. No, when people went for non-formal education, it was mainly intended to help them get some knowledge, and it didn't mean to give them a certificate. But later on, it led to correspondence education, which was basically postal based. That means the study materials were sent to the learners, and the learners were required to appear in examination, and then they were given certificates. Sometimes personal contact programs were held for those learners. Then it gradually, when there was no direct contact between the teacher and the child, and only this postal mode of communication was there, then this concept of distance education developed. But when distance education developed, it was mainly the same kind of education, only the term changed, but now the distance learning started. That means where the learners were given importance in the system. Now, then it moved on to open and distance learning, in which a lot of flexibilities were given to the learners in regard to different conditions. And finally, as we can see in the post-pandemic period, we have open, online, and distance education. So there are various kinds of education that you can see here. correspondence education from which it started. Then external study, that means there is a off-campus center of the university where the learners are given support. That is external studies. That is University of Nigeria gives that kind of studies. Continuing education is a kind of non-formal education. That learner-centered education that we all of us know. Technology-based mediated education means when technology started invading the field of education, it started. So I am not going to the details because there are very important things later on. But let me tell you one thing. Since the mid-20th century, if you remember, from that day, globalization was given importance. It was towards the end of the 20th century. Then what happened? This open learning concept came, which reflected the desire of the learners for greater access to higher education. Now, what are the different challenges to open and distance learning? First of all, as we all of us know, social acceptance of ODL products. Let me share with you a joke. When I joined IGNOU, one of my friends asked me, is it an NGO? But what I mean to say, people even don't know what it is. So the degrees offered by the open universities were challenged at a point of time, but gradually with the support of the government of India and UGC and all the employers, the acceptance of the ODL degrees, they are increasing. Absence of universal appeal for distance education among would-be learners. Generally, what happens, people, first of all, they prefer to, as I was telling you just 5 minutes ago, they prefer to go for conventional education. They go for open and distance education only when the other doors are closed. Skepticism about the quality of qualifications acquired through distance education. I have something to say about this point because unfortunately, many of the open universities, they very easily compromise with quality, as a result of which their learners are not accepted in the market, or as it happens, not their learners only, even our learners are questioned at the time of employment. Relevance of ODL program to the needs of the aspirants. This is another very, very important thing that all the ODL universities and dual mode universities should focus on. What they do, they just keep on replicating the programs which are being offered through the conventional mode, which is of no use. If my university keeps on giving programs, MA, BA, this, that, whatever programs are being offered in the regular universities, there will be no takers. You'll be surprised to know IGNOU has started offering programs in very, very unusual programs. Corporate social responsibility, entrepreneurship, then digital media, then development communication, Jyotisi, MA Jyotisi, MA Saral Sanskrit both, BA honors in Sanskrit, BA honors in Urdu. So these are some very new, and sustainability science, renewable energy, MS in renewable energy, MS in information security. These are the things the learners of 21st century they need. So we must respond to the needs of the learners. Dearth of trained personnel, this is another very important thing. What happens? People from the conventional mode of education are inducted into the open mode of education for giving academic support services, but most of the time they are not acquainted with the philosophy, principles, and methods of open and distance learning. Low level of utilization of information communication technology. This is another very important feature, because what happens, thanks to Corona has taught us how to make use of ICT. But before that, people did make use of ICT for support services to a large extent. And the ease and credulity with which all ODL modes of delivery are embraced without discrimination or training by open university or distance learning institute. That means the ODL institution, what they do, if somebody does it, they start doing it, but they are not well prepared for that. If, for example, online education, if your staff are not properly trained, if you don't have the ICT infrastructure, how do you think that online education will be a success with your university. And the last one, it is a very pathetic part. When the learners are in search of different varieties of programs, some private universities, what they do, they commercialize higher education, they offer programs, but the quality of programs are very, very low. They commercialize that and they exploit the students. Now, with the invasion of technology, online learning has been integrated with open and distance learning. Because across the world, there is a demand for distance learning technologies. And we have seen this during the last pandemic. But one thing, let me tell you, students generally, they prefer to attend the online classes only when attending the physical classes is very expensive, because learners with low ability or low achievement, they cannot take advantage of the online classes. I have also noticed that. Because if somebody is not technically sound, if somebody is not very knowledgeable in that particular area, if the person doesn't have the basic understanding of the topic, then the person will not be able to take much advantage of the online sessions. But you'll be surprised to know, in America, in the first part of the 21st century, more than half of all the 2-year and 4-year degree granting institutes of higher education, they offer distance education courses primarily through the internet. So modern distance learning courses employ web-based course management systems that incorporates digital reading materials, podcast, I think all of you know, that is a recorded version of the contents, particularly audio recorded versions. Emails, discussion forums on the Blackboard and different places, chat rooms, then taking functionality in the virtual mode. Generally, what happens, all these systems are asynchronous. But as I discussed already, there is also facility for synchronous communication between the teachers and the taught. And one more thing, through online learning, what happens, the learners are given a chance to post their ideas, post their responses in the wikis, the blogs, and they collaboratively edit the documents which are given for different kinds of educational purposes. Moocs, all of us know, they were very successful in the first and second decades of the 21st century. But they became only popular when the MOOC providers like Coursera, edX, Khan Academy, Udacity, they started offering varieties of MOOCs to people. And I have also done 7 to 8 of them. And I would encourage all the participants to do some MOOC at your convenience, because that will update your knowledge in the relevant area. The initial purpose of the MOOC was to provide informal learning opportunities. But there have been different kinds of experiments, because nowadays even Government of India, UGC, has recommended that the people who do courses from the SWAYAM, those will be counted for their credits in the conventional universities. Now, this we have already seen. I am not going to discuss that. During the pandemic period, we have found that the distance learning, open and distance learning, has been very, very useful to the learners. You must have noticed that the orders of the Home Ministry always mention one thing: open and distance education will continue right from March 2020 until today. They keep on repeating the same line: open and online education, online and distance education will continue. But before the pandemic, the potential of ODL, it was not explored. After the pandemic, the importance of ODL has improved manifold. Let me share with you one experience from my regional center. Even during the pandemic period in 2021, we had the highest enrollment in the history of the regional center. It was 65,193. It was a record enrollment. So maybe because of this shift in the approach, shift in the attitude of the people after the pandemic, people have started moving towards this. And one more thing, attending online classes has become a new normal for many students. You must have heard learners talking about, I have to attend a class, online class. Even in IGNOU only, we must have conducted around 30 to 40,000 classes. I'm not talking about Patna. I'm talking about all the regional centers across the country, including the sessions conducted by the headquarters. Around 40,000 classes were conducted for the learners of IGNOU. You just imagine how it is going to, how it has changed the way we look at education. So it has emerged as a suitable alternative amidst the chaos caused with the pandemic. Now let us see how this open and distance learning has evolved in our country. The first open university in the country, it is only 40 years old. That it was first of all Andhra Pradesh Open University, then it was renamed as B.R. Ambedkar Open University in Hyderabad. Now the second university, that is IGNOU, it was established in 1985. Other than these two universities, there are 13 state open universities, 140 dual universities offering programs and courses through the distance mode. So about 40% universities in India are offering distance education of one form or the other form. The common motto of all the institutions is to bring the positive social transformation in society and to make people empowered economically, socially, culturally, and educationally. This is very, very important. ODL has played a very important role in empowering people through different perspectives. There are some universities like other than IGNOU, like Yashwantrao Chauhan Open University in Maharashtra. It has been awarded the Award of Excellence for Institutional Achievement by Commonwealth of Learning. Likewise, Netaji Subhash Bose University, it has been awarded the Excellence in Distance Education Award. ODL accounts for 10.62% of the total enrollment in the segment of higher education. It has contributed substantially towards the rise of GER in India. So it is preferred by students for financial reasons or personal commitments. These programs are priced, as I have already talked about that, 20 to 30% less than the full-time courses. As we can see here, we have been discussing that there is a wide scope of ODL because it provides flexible access to higher education in general, professional, vocational courses. It has been providing since the 1980s. So all the central governments and state governments of India, they have started giving due emphasis to the expansion of ODL. So it is a mode through which the system of higher education can be transformed and empowered in an unprecedented way. It can provide justice to millions of people in achieving the motto of higher education. I have already talked about this: access, equity, quality, innovation, and research. It can lead to the development of the capabilities of the people and make them productive and empowered citizens. Women enrollment, this is another very important thing I wanted to share with you. I don't know what is the percentage of women participating in the conventional universities, but in ODL, as you can see here, 46.3% is the percentage in ODL, whereas average in share in the conventional mode is 45%. And in my regional center, it is always between 45 to 50%. So this is a very, very encouraging thing. This is very important. Now, this regulatory mechanism for ODL in India. Actually, there was a DEC, Distance Education Council. If you remember, it was under IGNOU. It was established in 1991. But from 14th May 2013, IGNOU repealed this act, and now it has come under UGC. Now, UGC is the controller of all the distance learning institutions. One thing you must have been aware of this, that higher education institutions or universities which have at least 3.26 or above in the NAC accreditation, they are only eligible to for open and distance learning programs in the online mode. Many universities were debarred from offering online programs when their NAC grades were low. So this is how government is trying to control the quality of ODL in the country. The current status of education in India that we know, there are around 1,000 universities and roughly 40,000 colleges in just terms of number. But if we talk about its ranking in the international education system, it is abysmally low because its potential has not been properly explored. Despite a massive institutional structure, our gross enrollment ratio is far below than that of the other leading countries. It is around 27.1% only, whereas in America, Germany and other countries, it is more than 80%. It is estimated that for 4.5 million students, they are enrolled in the ODL programs, whereas in the regular modes, it is 30 million students. Out of the, I have already said, 1043 universities are there, and state public universities, they constitute the highest share, that is 37%. And the top 5 states, just imagine, the top 5 states, they constitute such a huge percentage. Rajasthan, 89%, Uttar Pradesh, 81%, 81 universities, 7.8%, Rajasthan, 8.5%, Gujarat 7.3%, Karnataka 6.6%, and Madhya Pradesh 6.3%. That means of the total percentage of universities, this is the percentage in these 5 states only. GER, it was 26.9 for males, and it was 27.3 for females in 1920. In terms of overall GER, Sikkim ranks the first among the states with the highest male, that is 83.6, and female, that is 67.6. And Tamil Nadu ranks the highest among the largest states. Let us the status of universities in India. Just quick, you can have a quick look. This is how the universities are numbered. That means the total number of universities at every level. You can see that state public university 386, but the state private university, it is equally almost the same number. There is only one central open university, and there are only 14 state open universities. So there is a lot of scope for the expansion of ODL in India. You can see it here that if you add up all these figures, university, college, and standalone institutions, it is a report, All India Survey of Higher Education of Ministry of Education 1920. From this it has been taken. You can see that it in total admission in lakhs. If you add them up, it comes to nearly 350 lakhs. Now let us come to Bihar. Just have a look what kind of a role we teachers have in this state. You can imagine. It is only, average is only 14.5. You can see that. 14.5 is the GER in the state of Bihar. Okay. So the number of universities, as you can see, state public university 17, private universities, no, state private university 4, central university 4, but this number is very, very negligible in comparison to the GER that the state has. Even you can see the condition of the admission of the students in the colleges and universities. You can see it here. 14 lakh, 2 lakh. It is almost 17 lakhs, you can say. Just that one. NEP that we have been discussing, because we are running short of time, just I have 5 to 7 slides, then it will be over. So NEP I have been talking about, that NEP focuses on this open and distance learning because it has a mandate to promote access, equity, quality, and affordability. And it can only be done in order to provide access to higher education to majority of the people and enhance GER to 50% by 2030. And the government has to take help of the open and distance learning institutions, because in spite of such a massive infrastructure, as we talked just now, 1,000 universities and around 42,000 colleges, we have not been able to reach the GER, which is close to 50%, close to 30% even. So it is very, very important that it is done. And one more thing, now the government has thought of in the NEP to expand the overseas centers of the Indian universities, to extend to the overseas centers so that higher education can be promoted. And it has, as you can see here, both kinds of education, it has been laid emphasis on. One is the in-class and the second one is standard online blended learning. And the choice-based credit system that we all of us know, that is because NEP focuses on the multidisciplinary approach to education, particularly at the undergraduate level. IGNOU started this CBCS method way back in July 19. The learners who are admitted in the bachelor's degree programs, they have a multiple ways of choosing the courses. They can do it. And the most important thing that the NEP talks about is the academic bank of credit. That means if a learner has done a course from the regular mode, another course from the online mode, they all can be put together and the learner will be eligible for a diploma or degree on the basis of the credits accumulated by the learners. So online learning has the potential to democratize education and learning by bringing these to everyone at a fraction of the cost of traditional delivery mechanisms. Definitely, online education will be a boon to people, but in a country like ours, I have personally experienced as the regional director that ICT infrastructure is a must, but that also NEP is very much clear about. Because now the NEP is going to make use of the NPTEL for developing a repository of online courses by the leading academic institutions in the country, and also use the Moocs platform, that is the SWAYAM. In addition to that, the government has also launched the PM E-Vidya program for providing online education courses, integrating DTH channels to support students who don't have internet access. There is a proposal for the development of a National Educational Technology Forum, which will be a dedicated e-education unit to bolster the digital infrastructure, digital content and capacity to be created in the MHRD. And one more thing which I like very much, not only the synchronous activities, online activities the NEP talks about, it also talks about asynchronous, because they are aware of the condition of the country. Asynchronous means even if there is no network connectivity, the person loses the class, the person can use the recorded version. Okay, like there could be radio program, there could be TV program, there could be pre-loaded devices, audio devices, video devices, and video recordings of the sessions which the learners can be used. So by integrating the open and choice-based learning through e-content delivery, online class in the conventional mode of education, the new education policy has proved to be a timely, appropriate, and pragmatic and solution-focused. Because the new education policy emphasizes, focuses on the open and distance learning and online education, but at the same time, it has also recommended the different kinds of enhancement, enrichment of the infrastructure so that the plans for integration of online education can be a real success. Now, the way forward, what we should be doing. First of all, I have already told you the teachers should be oriented, because the ODL system, it has a different curriculum, different pedagogy, different mode of assessment, different student support services. All these things are different. So the teachers who come from the conventional universities, first of all, they must be trained regularly to support the ODL and online training learning communities. Second component of study skills in the ODL curricula. That means learners who come to the ODL system, generally they come with different kinds of commitments. They don't have much time. What happens? They are not able to complete the program in time. So they should be encouraged, they should be motivated through a component on study skills, how to study, how to complete their study, how to manage their time and complete the programs. And this is very, very important. Training of personnel responsible for learner support services. In the conventional mode, learner support is important, but in the distance mode, it is more important because learners have no other mode of clarifying their doubts. If they come to us for any kind of support, we must be there to provide them support. And one more thing, we have already discussed that design and development of need-based and skill-based courses. If we only keep on offering the courses which are available in the regular mode, then nobody is going to read our courses. So we must design and develop the courses, deliver the courses which are really need of the time, which will help the learners connect with the industrial and vocational world, job world. Use of ICT in the ODL institution. We have already discussed that many of the open universities, they don't make maximum use of the IT. They still depend upon the pen and paper mode of providing support to the learners. But we cannot continue with this. And this thing is also important. Even teachers from conventional universities, I would request you to kindly think of designing and developing and giving proposals for Moocs on the Swayam platform, because our university is the national coordinator for the left out students for the certificate level programs. So you can, as a teacher of a university or a college, you can send a proposal to our university, to our Center for Online Education, if you want to develop any Moocs. And open universities in particular, they must focus on this. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive in the market. I always tell my colleagues, you must update yourselves constantly. Otherwise, you become outdated. And this is another thing very important, use of mobile learning in times of crisis. There are many apps which don't open on the mobiles, but particularly there is one WebEx and another is Microsoft Teams. When we conducted any session on these teams, it doesn't, most of the mobiles, they don't support these softwares. The learners had a lot of trouble. So whenever we think of providing mobile learning and mobile support services to the learners through the mobile technology, then we must think of all these things. Now let us see what is the future of distance, online, open and distance learning. This I have taken from a paper by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nageshwar Rao sir. It is published in one of the leading new journals, that is published by Association of Indian Universities. Here he has envisioned for a ODL system which is completely ICT dependent. Progression from conventional student support to ICT student support, because now things are changing. We cannot continue with the chalk and board kind of classrooms. We cannot think of continuing the face-to-face mode of classrooms. Remodeling the printed self-learning materials to digital SLM. Let me tell you, many of you must be knowing. Those of you who don't know, let me tell you, all these study materials of IGNOU are freely available on a website, that is www.egyancourse.ac.in. So it is important that the open universities, they convert their self-learning materials to digital materials so that the learners can make use of them whenever required. And face-to-face counseling to 4-quadrant based support. Let me briefly explain you what it means. This 4-quadrant model, as you can see here, there are 4 components here. Online tutorials, that means the tutorials are provided either through TV or through radio or through audiovisual lessons or virtual labs also. Now you will be surprised to know IGNOU has started offering BCA and MCA programs to the online mode, and both of them have been approved by the AICTE. The online assessment, when you teach them online, you must also think of evaluating them online. So there should be mechanism for submission of online assessments, for submission of, conduct of online examinations. The study materials, they should also be PDF via ebooks, and web resources must be maximum utilized, like open education resources, different kinds of case studies, digital libraries, they must be made use of to a great extent. And this 3-tier conventional ODL system to 2-tier ICT based learner support system. This is a very new concept. 3-tier means in IGNOU what happens, there is our IGNOU headquarters, at the headquarters, and now we have this regional center, then we have the learner support center. So this is called a 3-tier system. So now in this model, our Honorable Vice Chancellor has proposed that the regional centers will function as the model online learning centers, MOLC. Instead of LSC, Learner Support Center, he has visioned that they can be converted to model online learner support centers. Training and capacity building for ODL system, that we have already discussed. Pen paper system to online assessment and assignment and examination reform, that we have discussed. Shifting from copyright materials to open educational resources. Many of you must be having knowledge about open educational resources. They are published under a Creative Commons license, where they are called copyleft. That means you can make use of the resources for academic purposes. If you don't have any commercial intention, then you can make use of the resources for your academic purposes. Skill development through physical laboratories to virtual skill and science laboratories. Now it is being conceived. Succession from older regulations to online regulations. It has already come out. Let me tell you, in 2020, the 2017 ODL regulations of UGC, they have been modified. Now it is called the online and ODL regulations of UGC 2020. Periodical revision of programs to continuous revision. This is generally what happens. People, they revise the programs after 10 years, after 5 years. Now that is not the case, because nowadays we are living in a very, very dynamic world where things are changing every day. So there should be continuous revision of the program so that the programs remain relevant and updated. So this is how the new learner will have a different role in future. As you can see over here, that the ODL learner, he was surrounded by so many activities, lab practicals he had to attend, he had to go through the printed materials, he could see the TV and radio channel counseling, audiovisual sessions are there. As Professor Syed Alam was telling, IGNOU, I think, I am not very sure, I think it is the first university in the entire world to start the teaching facilities of the undergraduate programs in 13 languages simultaneously. Hindi, English, and 11 more languages, including Urdu, which Professor Syed Alam is taking for Patna. So web resources, OERs, all these things shall be used. Thank you very much for giving me a patient listening. Now it is there is half an hour left for interaction. We can now interact. Thank you very much.
Sir, I have a query regarding the interrelationship between IGNOU and the NEP, New Education Policy. NEP has brought a lot of new things which are new for many of the conventional universities. But I think you should be boasting it that IGNOU has already been doing so many things that the NEP has it in its basket. So there are very less new things for you as IGNOU in NEP.
Right, thank you. Let me tell you, I think in NEP, because if I went on talking about IGNOU only, it would have been very boring. More than a talk, it would have been a promotional meeting for IGNOU. So I didn't do that. in the NEP it is clearly written that IGNOU will be conducting pilot studies for online education, and based upon the findings of the pilot study, then the university, the government will take up different kinds of activities in future. Rai Saab, Dilip ji, anyone of you? Chittaranjan, I think I have answered.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I am Dr. Vinod Kumar Roy. I am from SS College, Jahanabad, Department of Health. Sir, as far as ODL is concerned, and no doubt IGNOU is the leader, has been the leader for ODL. I have two ideas which I would like to share with you. That IGNOU should start a platform like LinkedIn and other professional apps and sites, and old alumni of IGNOU should join that platform using their registration number or roll number, whatever. And this way there will be a common platform for all students from IGNOU, and there will be a very good opportunity for employment and career enhancement. Secondly, sir, what I feel that IGNOU should also be concentrating on improving the quality. It has been always a questionable thing that there is more concern on quantity, not on quality. So quality part is very important, though I know many people who are from IGNOU background, and they are doing well in private sector as well as in other government sectors also. So these people should be brought together. Any institution which has a strong alumni background, they are number one, they are leading. Alumni is very important, and IGNOU should think of that. This is my suggestion, sir.
Thank you.
I seek your opinion.
Before I invite Dr. Dilip Kumar, let me just respond to Vinod sir. Number one, आपके suggestion जो है, that's wonderful. But let me tell you, IGNOU has an alumni portal, and anybody can register for that. But your suggestion is also well taken. I will open a alumni page on LinkedIn profile so that people can share that link and they can show their credentials there. That's important. Yes. Second thing, as regard quality, sir, I also agree with you that there is a need to stick to quality, because I have not been accepted by many of my coordinators because of that reason only, because I am the last person to compromise on quality. किसी भी चीज में कहीं भी मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा इधर उधर हो रहा है, तो I am very harsh on that. क्योंकि मुझे it is not being recorded, I think Google ने बंद कर दिया. एक चीज मैं बताना चाहूंगा, there was an external for MCA Viva. That gentleman told me that, sir, अरे बच्चे जाके मार्केट फेस करेंगे, उनको क्यों फेल करना है? मैंने सीधा मेरे AID को बोला, this gentleman, I should not see his face in my campus again. मतलब he is passing everybody. मैंने कहा कि जो जिसके लिए योग्य है उसको दीजिए. A person should be proud of what he or she has. जो हासिल किया है किसी ने, उसके लिए उसको गर्व होना चाहिए. दिलीप जी, प्लीज.
Sir, is there any placement cell? Is there any placement cell?
There is one. हेडक्वार्टर में है, यहाँ पे भी है, लेकिन यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा एक्टिविटी कम है, लेकिन दिल्ली में है.
ठीक, thank you, sir.
Thank you for delivering a very interesting and informative lecture on ODL, sir.
Dr. Ansika, I will come to you after that.
My question is that in ACB system, this academic credit bank system, sir, a learner will be granted a certificate by the university on the basis of calculation of credits. Sir, इसमें जो है मेरा ये मूल चीज है कि we would like to know which university will award the degree to the learners and what will be the time frame.
You are not audible.
Your voice is not audible.
Mute हो गए.
ये मेरा जो ये मानना है कि जो हाईएस्ट नंबर ऑफ क्रेडिट जिसमें मिलेगा, आई थिंक दैट यूनिवर्सिटी शुड बी एबल टू गिव द डिग्री या ग्रेड, मैंने जो सर्टिफिकेट है वही देना चाहिए. अब तो कंसेप्चुअल स्टेज में है, अभी कुछ फाइनल नहीं हुआ है।
नहीं मतलब ये तो सर एक प्रेजम्पशन हुआ सर, बट अबाउट द बायलॉज इफ इट हैज कम इन एग्जिस्टेंस एंड इट इज गोइंग टू बी कम इन एग्जिस्टेंस, यदि ये बाद में सर एग्जिस्टेंस में आता है तो देयर मस्ट बी अ क्लैरिटी ऑन द अवार्डिंग यूनिवर्सिटी सर, एंड टाइम सर, टाइम ऑल्सो। यदि आज कोई होता है या तो 20 साल के बाद होगा कि 10 साल होगा, इसकी वैलिडिटी 5 साल होगी, क्या होगा ये समय निर्धारित होना चाहिए सर।
टाइम के बारे में लिखा हुआ है कि कोई टाइम का फ्रेम नहीं रहेगा करके।
अच्छा,
वो पॉइंट मैंने छोड़ दिया, लेकिन उसमें लिखा गया देयर विल बी नो रिजिडिटी ऑफ टाइम। अभी आज किसी ने पास किया, 2 साल के बाद और कहीं से करेगा तो दोनों को जोड़, ये बहुत
पहली बात है कि जैसे ही वो एडमिशन लेगा किसी भी सेंटर से या किसी भी ओडीएल सेंटर से सर, तो ही विल और सी विल गेट फर्स्ट रजिस्टर्ड सर। तो रजिस्टर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी फिर बदल सकता है क्या ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ नंबर ऑफ क्रेडिट्स?
वही बोल रहा हूँ ना, ये कंसेप्चुअल स्टेज में है, अभी फाइनल नहीं हुआ है। वी विल बी रिसीविंग द डिटेल्ड गाइडलाइंस वेरी सून। Dr. Anshika Gupta,
Okay,
please.
sir. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Dr. Anshika Gupta from JD Women's College. Sir, there is one question that I come across with my students. They usually ask that whether they can pursue both the regular course and a vocational course at the same time from the correspondence mode.
You have put a very nice question. Actually, बीच में क्या हुआ, कुछ न्यूज पेपर में निकाल दिए कि यूजीसी हैज अलाउड 2 डिग्रीज साइमल्टेनियस परस्यूट ऑफ 2 डिग्रीज। बच्चे एडमिशन भी कर लिए, लेकिन एज ऑन टुडे लेट मी टेल यू वी हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड एनी कम्युनिकेशन फ्रॉम यूजीसी या आवर यूनिवर्सिटी हेडक्वार्टर्स रिगार्डिंग द परस्यूट्स ऑफ 2 डिग्रीज। लेकिन 6 माह का जो सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स है उसको कोई भी कर सकता है। 6 माह का जो सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स है दे कैन परस्यू इट एज एड ऑन कोर्स। जैसे कि इग्नू में अभी देयर आर सो मेनी कोर्सेस, 6 माह का अरबिक लैंग्वेज है, फ्रेंच लैंग्वेज है, जर्मन लैंग्वेज है, स्पेनिश लैंग्वेज है, कोरियन लैंग्वेज है, उर्दू लैंग्वेज है, आपके फूड एंड न्यूट्रिशन है, बहुत सारे कोर्स है, गाइडेंस है, बिजनेस स्किल है, आईटी स्किल है, एनजीओ मैनेजमेंट है, जिसको जो चाहिए वो कर सकता है। आई एम प्रेटी श्योर कि एनओयू में भी ऐसे बहुत सारे कोर्सेस होंगे 6 माह का। 6 माह का किसी भी कोर्स आप किसी भी यूनिवर्सिटी से कर सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसमें।
And what's about 1-year diploma course, sir?
Can they pursue? 1 year नहीं, only 6. UGC has only allowed only 6 months course as add-on courses. Add-on course करके उसको
सर हम लोग के स्टेट में, particularly in the state of Bihar, none of the universities has adopted this add-on course through their academic council. So हम लोग सर उसकी तो वो डिग्री अवार्ड या उस सर्टिफिकेट में इनरोल ही नहीं कर सकते हैं।
नहीं है। देखिए एड ऑन कोर्स को उनको कोई एकेडमिक काउंसिल अप्रूवल लेने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। ये यूजीसी का स्टैंडिंग ऑर्डर है। ये कोई यूनिवर्सिटी कोई उसको अलाउ करेगा नहीं कर, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग। स्टूडेंट
But sir, we are bound to obey the directives of the university. Without any notification of the university, we cannot enroll on our part, sir.
Your university comes under UGC.
Yes, sir. But university should notify. सर हम लोग तो उसके यूनिवर्सिटी के माथत हैं सर, तो यूनिवर्सिटी जब तक नोटिफिकेशन नहीं करती यूजीसी की किसी भी आदेश को, वो रीनोटिफाई होता है सर। स्टेट की कोई भी चिट्ठी रीनोटिफाई होगा सर यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे, तभी हम लोग उसका कंप्लायंस करेंगे सर।
It is not a notification. It is a standing order for all the universities in the country. आपके यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं किए तो मैंने I will write a letter to the honorable vice chancellor of Patna University in this regard. या आपके जो भी यूनिवर्सिटी होंगे उनको लेटर लिखेंगे, but it is a standing order. कोई नोटिफिकेशन इट्स फॉर एवरीबॉडी। बच्चे जो कंटिन्यूसली कोर्स कर रहे हैं वो सब कोर्स साइमल्टेनियसली कर सकते हैं, एड-ऑन कोर्सेस।
सर जैसे कि स्वयं पोर्टल पे रिफ्रेशर कोर्सेज प्रोवाइडेड किए गए हैं, उसी तरह से क्या इग्नू में रिफ्रेशर कोर्सेज भी हैं सो दैट वी कैन बी एज अ
बीच में करते हैं, एफडीपी करते हैं। आप थोड़ा वेबसाइट देखते रहिए, बीच में ऑर्गेनाइज किया जाता है।
एंड रिफ्रेशर कोर्सेज जो 3 महीने के सॉरी रिफ्रेशर कोर्सेज
आपका 21 दिन या 28 दिन जो भी है,
3 वीक सर, 3 वीक सर,
ये वही कह रहे हैं 21 दिन का होता है।
And one thing more, sir, I would like to share my personal problem, because I have also done many courses from IGNOU, like
मैं diploma in AIDS and family education। मोबाइल नंबर देता हूं, हम बात करेंगे, दूसरे लोग बोर होंगे।
सर एक दिक्कत आती थी सर, क्योंकि असाइनमेंट्स जो होते थे वो आप पहले ले लेते थे, जिसकी वजह से
वही कह रहे
कि
हैं।
एट द टाइम ऑफ final result they many times we had to face, the students has to face the problem कि assignment is been missing or the
मैंने कहा ना,
marks has not been.
there are other participants, they will be getting bored. मैं अपना मोबाइल नंबर दे दूंगा आपको चैट बॉक्स में, आप हम बात करेंगे बाद में। ठीक है,
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू।
Excuse me.
प्लीज।
जी सर, वन नेगेटिव क्वेश्चन है सर, प्लीज डोंट माइंड कि सर वो पहले जितने पॉपुलैरिटी थी वो इग्नू की, थोड़ी सी मुझे इन दिनों थोड़ी कमी दिखाई दे रही है। 4-5 साल पहले बहुत ज्यादा क्रेज था सर इग्नू का।
क्या हुआ, बोलिए ना, मुझे तो पता होना चाहिए ना।
कोर्सेस के बारे में सर।
कोर्सेस तो बहुत अच्छे हैं, अभी तो नए नए कोर्स आ रहे हैं।
या फिर फैकल्टीज पुअर, कुछ तो सर फैक्टर है।
नहीं, एक चीज तो मैं ऑनेस्टली एडमिट करूंगा, कोरोना पीरियड में थोड़ा सा सपोर्ट सर्विसेज में इधर उधर हुआ है। दैट कुड बी ए रीजन, क्योंकि ऑफिस बंद रहे बहुत सारे दिन, लोग आधा लोग घर से काम किए, आधा लोग ऑफिस से काम किए, ऑनलाइन सपोर्ट था, कोई फोन करता था कोई उठा नहीं था, तो देयर कुड बी सम प्रॉब्लम लाइक दैट। लेकिन इग्नू अपने परफॉर्मेंस में मुझे नहीं लगता कि कहीं प्रॉब्लम हुआ है।
जस्ट जो था मेरे
हम चाहेंगे, देखिए आप फीडबैक तो वही ना, आपसे फीडबैक नहीं लेंगे तो हम क्या इम्प्रूव कैसे करेंगे, वो जरूरी है।
सर रिजल्ट को लेके थोड़ी सी समस्या आ रही है बच्चों में, एक ये इग्नू के प्रति कि रिजल्ट जो है वो उनका बहुत बढ़िया नहीं रहता है। अभी जो स्कोर के लेके जो अभी जॉब का जो है कि अभी सर बिहार सरकार में मार्क्स बेसिस पे जो शिक्षकों की नियुक्ति हो रही है या अन्य जो भी है, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं इग्नू के बच्चे पिछड़ जा रहे हैं। तो एक इनरोलमेंट में जो कमी का वो कारण लगता है, वो बिहार में एक मुख्य कारण भी लगता है।
रिजल्ट के बारे में जो बोला आपने, लेट मी टेल यू वन थिंग। ओपन एंड डिस्टेंस लर्निंग में जो हमारे जो इवैल्यूएटर्स होते हैं वो 56 इंच सीने वाले हैं, मतलब मार्क बहुत अच्छा देते हैं, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि जो बच्चे डिस्टेंस लर्निंग में आते हैं, जैसे मैंने कहा था, दे आर ऑल डिसएडवांटेज लर्नर्स। जिन लर्नर का सारे रास्ता बंद हुआ है वो लोग आए हुए। मेरे पास कुछ लोग आके बोलते, अरे सर क्या है, रबिश लिखे है, ये सब क्या है। मैंने कहा कि आप उनके जगह पे कूद कर रख के थोड़ा सोचिए, समझ रहे हैं ना। इसीलिए मुझे नहीं लगता कि जो बच्चे थोड़ा सा पढ़े होंगे ना अच्छा मार्क मिलता है, ऐसे नहीं है मेरा जो एक्सपीरियंस है। क्योंकि जैसे पांडे साहब बताया आपको, मैंने इग्नू से 7-8 कोर्स किया है और दूसरे यूनिवर्सिटी से भी 3-4 कोर्स किया है। और लेट मी टेल यू, आई एम हियर ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ ऑनलाइन एंड डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन। जब ये पोस्ट का वैकेंसी निकला था तो the requirement was 5 years of teaching in a graduate college, my undergraduate college, plus PhD, and there were 140 applicants and 80% of them were insiders. Insiders समझते हैं ना, मतलब इग्नू वाले थे। I was from outside and I topped the panel only because of my additional degrees. मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं कि आरडी पोस्ट के लिए आपको करना है, लेकिन मेरा कहना है आपके पास एडिशनल डिग्री होगा तो आज नहीं तो कल काम आएगा। दे विल डेफिनेटली बी ऑफ यूज टू यू। जब कहीं जैसे आप देख रहे हैं कि आजकल ऑनलाइन का जमाना हो गया, हर जगह पीपल दे आस्क फॉर योर सीवी। आप 2-4 मूव किए हैं या कुछ एडिशनल डिग्री किए हैं, अभी नालंदा से किए या जेएनयू से किए, डीयू से किए, और कोई फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटी से किया, इट डजंट मैटर। इग्नू से करना है ऐसे कुछ नहीं है। एनी यू कैन चूज एनी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ योर चॉइस, जहां से आपकी पसंद की कोई डिग्री मिलता है। मैं तो बच्चों को कहता हूं जो मेरे पास आते हैं काउंसलिंग के लिए, डोंट डू एनीथिंग इफ समबडी एल्स टेल्स यू, डू समथिंग व्हिच इज वेरी क्लोज टू योर हार्ट। आपके दिल की जो करीब है वही चीज करिए आप। किसी ने बोल दिया आप उसको कर देंगे और बाद में बोले सर मुझे कैंसिल करना है, और डेट निकलने के बाद तो पैसा नहीं मिलेगा उसका। ठीक है, थैंक यू। Anybody else?
हाँ, यस सर।
हाँ, अरे दूसरों को बोलने दीजिए। आनंद किशोर साहब बोलिए।
Sir, is there any linguistic course in IGNOU?
लिंग्विस्टिक्स मतलब क्या?
भाषा विज्ञान।
भाषा विज्ञान ऐसे भाषा के ऊपर ऐसे पर्टिकुलर नहीं है, लेकिन सारे भाषा में कोर्सेस है। जैसे मैंने कहा आपको, उर्दू में है, संस्कृत में है, इंग्लिश में है, हिंदी में है, सारे भाषा में है। और एमए इंग्लिश में आपका लिंग्विस्टिक्स का स्पेशलाइजेशन है, क्योंकि मेरा अप्लाइड लिंग्विस्टिक्स है मेरा स्पेशलाइजेशन। आप चाहे तो आप, मैं जैसे मैंने कहा, आप लोगों को मेरा रिक्वेस्ट रहेगा कि इस लिंक को थोड़ा यूज करिए और करके आप लोग अप्लाई करिए। इफ यू वांट टू बी एसोसिएटेड विद इग्नू के कोई एक्टिविटी में आप लोग एंगेज होना चाहेंगे तो इसको आप लिंक का यूज करिए। इसमें क्या आपको दिखाएगा, ऑनलाइन एम्पैनलमेंट ऑफ एकेडमिक काउंसलर। अनुराग कुमार जी बोलिए प्लीज।
जी हाँ सर, मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था, मैं यूआर कॉलेज रोसड़ा में हूँ सर, समस्तीपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में। मुझे नहीं लगता कि रोसड़ा में कोई इग्नू का सेंटर है। तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट
कौन सा डिस्ट्रिक्ट बताया आपने?
समस्तीपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट के रोसड़ा अनुमंडल में हूँ सर।
ओके, वो मेरे अंडर नहीं आता है, वो दरभंगा के अंडर आता है। एक आप ऐसे प्रपोजल एक भेजिए।
जी
हाँ,
तो ये
क्योंकि
जितना
मेरा अभी
विस्तृत
दो
क्षेत्र
नया
है,
सेंटर है मेरा अभी खुला अभी, जहाँ पे था नहीं, अरवल में और औरंगाबाद में वो डीम्ड ऑफ सेंटर्स अभी
जी यहाँ पर सर पहले जैसे दरभंगा यूनिवर्सिटी का जो अपना डिस्टेंस का था वो था, वो सेंटर तो अब बंद कर दिया गया। अगर इग्नू का यहाँ पर होता तो यह बेहतर होता सर।
आप ऐसे क्यों नहीं करते? आप कभी जाके वहाँ पे मिल लीजिए, सिंह साहब है, बहुत अच्छे है वो।
जी दरभंगा में सर।
हाँ दरभंगा में हमारे एस सिंह साहब है, वो भी सीनियर रीजनल डायरेक्टर है, उनसे मिल लीजिए।
जी ठीक है सर।
ठीक। और एनी क्वेश्चन? कोऑर्डिनेटर साहब कहाँ गए? प्रोफेसर राजीव रंजन या और कोई कुछ कहना चाहेंगे या पूछना चाहेंगे?
नहीं सर, आप कहीं हो गया। राकेश जी, राकेश रोशन जी।
हाँ हाँ,
राकेश रोशन जी हैं ना? राकेश रोशन जी।
और एक बात मैं देख रहा हूँ कि यहाँ पे रशीद हैदर जी है और असलाम जामल जी है। इफ यू डोंट माइंड, इफ यू कैन टीच इन उर्दू। हमारा अभी 3 सब्जेक्ट हमें मिला है, एनवायरमेंट साइंस, हिस्ट्री एंड साइकोलॉजी। आप ये 3 सब्जेक्ट में उर्दू में पढ़ा सकते हैं, तो आप अपना एम्पेनल करिए। जैसे असलाम साहब को आपने उर्दू में बुलाया, we would love to make use of your expertise, क्योंकि ये जो है बेसिकली इंटरनेशनली टेलीकास्ट होता है।
सर आप सर नंबर अपना सर मोबाइल नंबर शेयर कर दीजिए। सर हम सर बीएन कॉलेज पटना यूनिवर्सिटी से हैं। हमारे यहाँ उर्दू डिपार्टमेंट है, 2-3 शिक्षक वहाँ रेगुलर अपॉइंटमेंट है सर, जो सब परमानेंट फैकल्टीज हैं। तो मैं उनसे शेयर कर लूंगा आपकी बातें को, एंड उनको कहूंगा कि आपसे संपर्क कर ले।
आप मुझे मैसेज कर दीजिए, मैं आपको पीपीटी शेयर कर दूंगा।
जी एंड दे हैव बीन फ्रॉम एएमयू सर, इन उर्दू दे हैव कम फ्रॉम एएमयू।
बढ़िया होगा, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया।
दे हैव गुड एक्सपोजर आल्सो सर।
अरे हैदर साहब बोलिए।
क्या सर उर्दू के बारे में सर, तो साइंस सब्जेक्ट हम लोग तो बिलोंग करते हैं सर साइंस सब्जेक्ट से। मैं माई सेल्फ राशिद हैदर और इंटर कॉलेज पटना सिटी। तो सर
सब्जेक्ट क्या है?
केमिस्ट्री सर।
अरे बढ़िया, अभी शुरू होगा। अभी आर्ट्स का शुरू हुआ है, साइंस का आगे शुरू होगा। अभी आपके कॉलेज से मैडम आए परसों, जाबिन मैडम।
कौन मैडम?
जाबिन, साइकोलॉजी के।
जी
साइकोलॉजी का अभी क्लास लेके गए हैं मैडम थर्सडे को।
यस वी नो हर सर।
हाँ बढ़िया।
जी तो उर्दू
और एक भी बात भी बताता हूँ आप लोगों को। अभी ट्रांसलेशन का काम भी दिया गया है हमें। मोस्ट लाइकली एनईपी में ये चीज भी कहा गया, रीजनल लैंग्वेज में ऑफर किया जाएगा कोर्सेज को। उर्दू का ट्रांसलेशन पटना को मिला है, लाइब्रेरी साइंस का। आगे हिस्ट्री का भी आएगा, फिजिक्स का भी आएगा, केमिस्ट्री का भी आ सकता है। तो इसलिए थोड़ा सा मेंटली
अगर पीजी में सर केमिस्ट्री की क्लासेस को अगर आप अलॉट करें तो वी आर रेडी।
हमारा एमएससी केमिस्ट्री नहीं है, एमएससी फिजिक्स शुरू होने वाला है जुलाई से।
अच्छा, केमिस्ट्री नहीं,
एमएससी केमिस्ट्री अभी नहीं है। आप एक प्रपोजल दीजिए, क्योंकि अभी तो वर्चुअल लैब की बात हो रही है, तो मोस्ट लाइकली इट विल बी अप्रूव्ड।
और ग्रेजुएशन का सर डिग्री कोर्सेज तो होंगे ही।
डिग्री कोर्स मैंने कहा ना आपको, आप कर सकते हैं। जैसे आप पहले एम्पेनलमेंट कर दीजिए ना खुद को, जो लिंक मैंने दिया, लिंक में पहले खुद को एम्पेनल करिए। आपके नाम पे ईमेल पे एक चिट्ठी आ जाएगा आपको दिल्ली से कि आपका अप्रूवल हो गया। जब आप एम्पेनल करेंगे, हम पटना से उसको आगे फॉरवर्ड करेंगे। आप उसमें टीपीएस कॉलेज का कोड नंबर डाल दीजिए 0568।
0568।
हाँ, 0568। साइंस के है तो टीपीएस कॉलेज डालिए, या एन कॉलेज भी डाल सकते हैं जो आपको कन्वीनियंट है, क्योंकि दोनों में है बीएससी हमारा।
ओके ओके सर, थैंक यू।
ठीक है ना। कोऑर्डिनेटर साहब कहाँ गए? शायद आलम नहीं दिख रहे
सर। एन कॉलेज का क्या कोड है सर? एन कॉलेज पटना का सर
0529।
250529। अच्छा,
नायक साहब, डॉक्टर नायक साहब, आधा वर्द है।
हाँ सर।
और सब ठीक है ना सर?
हाँ, बढ़िया रहा सर।
आपके व्याख्यान से कितने लोग को फायदा पहुंच रहा है?
नहीं, मुझे फायदा ज्यादा हुआ
है?
उनको ज्यादा क्या हुआ मुझे पता नहीं, मुझे ज्यादा फायदा हुआ। सबसे फीडबैक लेके, सबको सुन के मुझे फायदा हुआ ज्यादा।
बहुत हमारे सब जितने जो है सर, सब टीचर हैं, और सभी ये जो इंडक्शन में जितने भी जो टीचर्स आए हैं सर, वो सही मानों में बहुत ही हम लोगों के लिए भी एक चैलेंजिंग था कि अच्छे रिसोर्स पर्सन को हम लोग इन लोगों के सामने भेजें। वरना इससे पहले जो है उतना लोग इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेते थे जितना इंटरेस्ट ये बैच थर्ड इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम में हो रहा है। तो हम लोग भी इसको चैलेंजिंग के रूप में लिया।
नहीं, मैं तो सर स्टूडेंट्स को कहता हूँ, मेक द जॉब ऑफ द टीचर मिजरेबल।
जी नहीं,
मैंने मतलब टीचर को ऐसे लाइटली कोई आ जाए, कुछ भी ना प्रिपेयर करके आके से मुंह दिखा के घर में कैसे है, पापा कैसे है, बहन कैसे है करके पूछ के तो टाइम पास करते हैं, ऐसे लोगों की बिल्कुल टॉलरेट नहीं करना है, क्योंकि अनफॉर्चुनेटली मेनी पीपल डू दैट।
सही बात है, बिल्कुल।
अभी ऑनलाइन में रिकॉर्डिंग फैसिलिटी है, कोई हिम्मत नहीं करेगा।
हाँ, ये नहीं, एकदम बिल्कुल जो है जितने पार्टिसिपेंट हैं, आप लोगों को एक अच्छा अपॉर्चुनिटी मिला है, और हम तो वहाँ क्लास ले रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन ले रहे हैं। नायक साहब जो है इतने कोऑपरेटिव आदमी हमने आज तक नहीं देखा है, बहुत कोऑपरेटिव आदमी। और शुरू में जो है हम लाइव में थे तो हमें खुद बहुत घबराहट लग रही थी, और जैसे जैसे हम करना शुरू किया उसके बाद जो है घबराहट थोड़ा कम होना शुरू हुआ। लेकिन ये बहुत ज़्यादा हमको हिम्मत दिए, इसलिए आपको सर मैं धन्यवाद के साथ जो है शुक्रिया भी अदा करना चाहता हूँ। और दिलीप जी जो है उर्दू का जब आदमी यहाँ पर बैठा हुआ है तो आप दूसरे जगह कैसे खोज रहे हैं? पटना यूनिवर्सिटी में मेरे बाद में होगा किसी का?
एंशियंट हिस्ट्री से इंक्रोच मत कीजिए दिलीप जी से। हम आपकी सर पूरा सर बायोडाटा को और रिज्यूम को जानते हैं सर। हमने
सिर्फ एक चीज मैं बता दूं बिफोर वी वाइंड अप। जो लाइव क्लास का सबसे कंसेप्ट है ना, ये लाइव क्लास जो है पूरा लाइव चलता है पूरे सारे कंट्री में। स्वयं प्रभा चैनल, आप डीटीएच में जाएंगे, स्वयं प्रभा चैनल 17, 18, 19, 20 इग्नू के सारे प्रोग्राम पूरे दिन चलते रहते हैं। 19 में उर्दू आता है हमारा, 19 नंबर चैनल। 19 नंबर चैनल पटना का है आपका, मंडे, थर्सडे एंड फ्राइडे, 3 दिन, 2:40 से 3:40। और एक चीज मैं बता दूं आपको, सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं है, सारे अरेबियन कंट्रीज आपके, जैसे कि अबू धाबी में है, कुवैत में है, ओमान में है, आपका अरब एमिरेट्स में है, गयाना में है, जितना अफ्रीकन कंट्री सब में है। तो इसलिए आप एक बार लाइव होते हैं मतलब एवरीबडी अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड वॉचेस यू। तो मेरा सबको अनुरोध है कि आप इस मैंने अपॉर्चुनिटी को छोड़िए मत, एंड इफ यू थिंक दैट यू आर कैपेबल ऑफ डूइंग इट, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू जॉइन अस इन दिस ग्रेट इनिशिएटिव। बहुत अच्छा लगा। मेरे तरफ से सबको धन्यवाद। मेरे मोबाइल नंबर दे दिया 9438036660। मुझे मैसेज करिए या कॉल करिए, कॉल इनकेस नहीं उठाओ तो मैसेज करके मुझे सिर्फ इतना बता दीजिए एफडीपी पटना यूनिवर्सिटी नाम ये, तो इमीडिएटली आई विल कॉल यू बैक। जब मैं फ्री होऊंगा मैं आपको कॉल करूंगा।
चलिए चलिए सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। और ये हमारे जो प्रतिभागी लोग हैं जिनको जिम्मेदारी दिया गया है, थैंक्स के लिए, धन्यवाद देने के लिए। हम चाहते हैं कि वही दे तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है। आज किन की जिम्मेदारी दी गई है?
राकेश रोशन सिंह जी हैं सर।
हाँ हाँ, ठीक तो है। तो आप लोगों की तरफ से हम तो धन्यवाद देंगे ही सर को, लेकिन आप अगर देंगे तो उनको ज़्यादा खुशी होगी ना, क्योंकि 1.5-2 घंटा तक आप लोगों के बीच में रहे हैं। तो हम आप लोगों की तरफ से मैं उनका जो है धन्यवाद और शुक्रिया मैं अदा कर दे रहा हूँ। लेकिन राकेश जी आप दे दिए धन्यवाद बाज़ाब्ता।
लगता है वो आज जुड़े हुए नहीं है सर, लग रहा है जिस तरह से।
कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं।
राकेश जी
सर राकेश जी नहीं जुड़े हुए हैं।
कोई बात नहीं, आपका अगला सेशन होगा।
चिरंतन जी या राय सर दे दीजिए सर।
विनोद सर
हम लोगों के बीच में विनोद जी बहुत सीनियर आदमी है भाई।
यस सर,
वो हाँ विनोद जी,
थैंक यू
विनोद
सर।
जी के प्रिंसिपल हमारे बहुत अच्छे मित्र भी हैं भाई, समझना। इसलिए विनोद जी सर आपको बता दें, ये नायक साहब विनोद जी जो है पूरे गल्फ कंट्री में वो पूरा नौकरी करने के बाद यहाँ प्रोफेसर में एडमिशन ये लिए है, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर में। इसलिए ये पूरे दुनिया को देखे हुए हैं और यहाँ पर आए हैं। पूरा ये गल्फ कंट्री वगैरह सब में ये इनका भ्रमण हो चुका है। तो इसलिए विनोद जी से हम कहेंगे, और विनोद जी ऐसे हैं कि पटना और गया के बीच में इनका कॉलेज है। तो और हम लोगों के सीनियर भी है। तो विनोद जी आप
नायक सर से परिचित हैं हम। नायक सर हमको अभी उन्हीं के हाथों से हम वहाँ के इग्नू स्टडी सेंटर के कोऑर्डिनेटर नियुक्त हुए हैं सर।
अरे वाह वाह वाह, तब तो आज अच्छा पटना यूनिवर्सिटी के बिहाफ में आज उनको आज धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव आप दे देंगे।
आज एक नई भूमिका में और 12वें खिलाड़ी के रूप में सर मैं बहुत ही आभार व्यक्त करता हूं आपका कि आपने मुझे डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक सर को धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का मौका दिया। और डॉक्टर नायक सर को मैंने पहले भी सुना है, इनका जो भी व्याख्यान होता है बिल्कुल ही टू द पॉइंट और बहुत ही कारगर होता है। हमारे महाविद्यालय के माध्यम से जो सेमिनार हम लोगों ने आयोजित किया था उसमें भी और आज भी मैंने देखा कि इन्होंने कम समय में ही विस्तृत जानकारी प्रदान कर दी, जिसके लिए हम कोटिशः धन्यवाद देते हैं। मैं पटना यूजीसी एचआरडीसी टीम को, डॉक्टर अतुल आदित्य पांडे सर को, डॉक्टर सईद सर को, उमर जी को, खालिद जी को और डॉक्टर अशोक जी को धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आप लोगों के उत्तम सहयोग से निर्बाध रूप से यह कार्यक्रम चल रहा है और आगे भी चलता रहेगा। अपने सभी अटेंडीज फ्रेंड्स की तरफ से भी धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आप लोगों ने वाकई सर बहुत अच्छा ये 5B करवाया है। बहुत अच्छे स्पीकर आप लोगों ने बुलाए हैं, जिसमें कोई शक नहीं है। और ये केवल बातें नहीं है सर, सच्चाई है कि हम लोग बहुत लाभान्वित हुए हैं और हो भी रहे हैं। तो एक बार पुनः मैं डॉक्टर अभिलाष नायक सर को धन्यवाद, और इस उम्मीद के साथ कि हम लोग फिर पुनः मिले भविष्य में। थैंक यू सर।
टच में रहेंगे। लेट्स बी इन टच ऑल ऑफ यू।
नायक साहब, मैं अपने पार्टिसिपेंट, चूंकि सारे लोग हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट हैं और सारे टीचर हैं, और अब इन लोगों की जिम्मेदारी जो है वो ज्यादा है। तो ये सभी लोग
कट गया सर का।
हाँ सही सर का।
सर जी, सर की आवाज नहीं आ।
हाँ सर,
ये अपॉर्चुनिटी जो है हम समझते हैं कि आपके माध्यम से होगा। चले इसी चंद लफ्जों के साथ मैं चाहता हूं कि इन लोगों को आशीर्वाद देते हुए आज के जो है आपको आपका हम शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Many
Thank you,
thanks,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Salam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.